guys, it's Captain Invisible here, and welcome to another turn of the custom campaign mod hot seat for Medieval 2 Total War. This is the Tyronian hot seat, where we play as the Principality of the Amber Plains, and I say it's turn number 6. So let us jump into this and see what we have to do this turn. Spoiler alert, it isn't very much, but we do have a few things to discuss in this turn. So, end of turn report wise, we have some money to play with, 2,207. That is not going to take us very far. I already know what I want to spend it on, and it's basically going to take all of that. So, we're going to discuss what we need to do with our finances in the future, and what we are going to be spending our money on again in future turns once we start to build up that economic strength. In terms of military, the Aztecs are the top in the military rankings. The AI tends to just spam out units anyway, and because the Aztecs start with a large empire stretching down the coast down here, they are going to end up with a larger military because of that. They're quite underpowered in other respects, so as I say, the Aztecs will have a large population and a large military to go along with it. Financially, the top is the Pyramids, who are down in this desert over here. The AI, I don't know whether this is true or whether this is something I maybe made up on the spot to explain the AI's madness, but I seem to remember that the AI, whenever it went in the red, the next turn it got a huge sort of cash sum. So the AI is going to go into debt all of the time. So what happens with the AI is they go into debt and then they just get given, almost like the council missions, they just get dumped a massive amount of money to then spend things on. And that's basically how the AI's economy works. So the AI is never going to run out of finances, because as soon as it goes into the red, it gets a load of money back. So that's why the Pyramids are top. We are 11th. I don't know how that corresponds with us in the human players, but we will have a look at the stats later on. The Valdokian Empire is top in production. We are second, so again we're way above the AIs in that regard, and we're sort of right next to the Valdokians in terms of production, which is good. Population, again, the Aztecs are always going to be top because they started out with a lot more settlements. We've increased there to 4, so we are doing quite well in population because we now have 5 lots of settlements. And then overall we are 11th, so overall we have gone up, except for in military where we are pretty much at the bottom of the rung. But that's because, again, our military, for some reason, the computer doesn't like to give our Kazakhs that much military power. The Kazakhs are fairly weak. 6 sort of the 3 melee attack, 6 missile attack, and 2 melee defense. You know, they're not great by any standards, but in campaign they are still horse archers, and horse archers will do damage against infantry formations. Your infantry cannot chase down fast-moving horse archers, and the horse archers can just keep firing at them until there's nothing left. So, even though the computer doesn't class the Kazakhs as being very strong, we have a number of them, and they are our main punch in this, at least in the early stages of this campaign. So we took Trinistal last turn. And we built roads at Trinistal, so we're now all connected. I believe that, no, in fact, we took Trinistal a few turns ago. Yeah, we took it a few turns ago and then just connected it all up with roads. We're currently building land clearances at Dewalt and at Tivador, so we are going to have some land clearance, which I'm mainly doing for the population increase, because we're currently the population at Dewalt isn't increasing, and Tivador could do with its population increasing just for taxes and also to allow us to build bigger, better castles. So initially we could do with taken our spy down here. This uncovers Isarlo. Yeah, I'm sure that's an L. It's hard to see on the white snow, but yeah, it's Isarlo. So we're going to take that castle next turn. Or we're going to try and take it sort of in the following turn, should I say. It does have... I don't know whether it has 2 units of Armenian cavalry, or it has an Armenian cavalry and an Alan light cav or something, but it's got a couple of units of pretty potent cavalry, actually, that we don't want to get involved with our Kazakhs without sort of skirmishing them. We're also going to bring down the ballista as well, because we need if the spy fails to get in to Istalo, then we need a backup plan, and the backup plan is going to be just to use artillery. Artillery is going to be very useful in this game, simply because we're only allowed 1 spy, and this is it. I'm actually worried that this guy's going to die at Istalo, but and then we'll have to recruit a new spy up at Dathala. But we need to just try and get in, and then we can try and attack with Grand Duke Yezvalod, and just see if we can take this castle sooner rather than later. So the only other things I needed to do were obviously to move my diplomat down. In fact, I think there's a better Byzantine settlement down here, so we'll travel down here and see if we can meet the Byzantines in their lands there. And then I want to get some mines at Kel, simply because it will... The mines are going to give us 240 sort of mining income per turn, which is quite large. It's larger than I've seen a lot of mining incomes in the past, and it only takes 2 turns. Unfortunately, it does cost 2,000 gold to build the mine, and that takes up a lot of our funds, so we're fairly low on funds now in terms of that. We did retrain our Kazakhs here, and in the future we are going to probably send an expeditionary force over here, because I know there's a castle here. I just want to scout out, set up some watchtowers and just keep an eye on the Mongols whilst I push round this way and sort of move into the Turkish lands and sort of down this way. I don't know whether there's Mongol settlements here. I kind of have a feeling that they're more over here, but we'll have a good scout out a bit later on. I just needed to secure the Amber Plains, and also to get pushing forward for this castle, just so we've got an anchoring point over here. So in terms of missions, we've only got this silly mission to reinforce a region that is not going to get attacked for the next 12 turns. So unless the Danish come right the way around here and purposefully attack it, which I don't think they will. I think they're going to be more expanding this way and meeting us over here, which is why I needed watchtowers. Dathala does not, or Dathla should I say, does not need any reinforcement there at all. The end of the rankings will show us how everyone else is doing in terms of their things. So it looks like the Spanish Inquisition and the Valdokian Empire are both really increasing quite rapidly. I'll have to see what's creating that sort of increase, because the rest of us are sort of stuck down here. We're not doing too bad, actually. We're sort of tying with the Holy Roman Empire. Yeah, we're almost tying with the Holy Roman Empire in terms of overall size and things, so that's quite good. Militarily, again, we are woefully inadequate down here compared to the rest, but the main thing is our units are horse archers, and the main advantage about the Venetians is that their Italian spear militia are better than everyone else's spears, except for the Papal States. Yeah, the Papal States have the exact same spear infantry, but again, he might not have a lot of them. It might just be a case that he has them, and therefore it's increased his military quite a bit. as you can see, this increase must have been from the horse archers. You compare that increase to the increase of the that might maybe 2 units of spear militia, the Italian spear militia, and you can see that it really doesn't. Your 4 units of horse archers should really never equate to 2 units of Italian spear militia, depending on what the battlefield situation is. But the AI really hates these horse archers being doesn't class them as a threat at all, so just downgrades them. In terms of other militaries, I think the Holy Roman Empire is doing well. Yeah, they're not doing too bad. Spain has increased slightly. In fact, they've actually decreased a little bit, but I'm sure they've been fighting a war against this island, so they're kind of going to take losses. The Valdokian Empire seem to be doing quite well. They had a bit of a dip, but again, that's army losses are going to happen when taking settlements. It's just a thing that happens. In terms of production, as you can see, the Valdokian Empire are miles ahead of the rest of us. Just complete, there's a chasm between the Valdokian Empire and the rest of the factions. We are second. There's a huge gap between first and second, but we are second. And then there's a small gap between me and the Spanish Inquisition, who are third. Then the Scottish are just after them, and then you've got the whole Roman Empire dipping down, with the poor Venetians and probably the Papal States, probably being around about somewhere here, being quite far behind. You're lagging behind in the production rankings. In terms of the territorial ranking, the Valdokian Empire are clearly top with 6. I believe the whole Roman Empire, myself, and the Spanish all occupy the same mark at 5 settlements, so we all have 5 settlements. Then the Scottish are at 4 settlements, and then you've got the Venetians at 3 still, and the Papal States still at 2, unable to get off their island there, which I think you can get mercenary ships on coastal settlements. I think I have mentioned to him that it might be a thing he wants to do. So he will have to keep an eye on that, because again, it's going to be a hard spot to play on first. Same with the Spanish, but I think the Spanish have got mercenary ships, and unfortunately the disciples of Tyrone haven't quite yet invested enough money into ships, but we'll see what they can do over the next few turns. Financially, as you can see, I think the financial gains is what is making the Spanish Inquisition and the Valdokian Empire so high, because they're clearly way above the rest of us. We are third, which is quite an interesting one, because we are only making about 2,000 a turn. The Valdokian Empire in Spain and the Spanish must be making about 4,200, and the rest of them, everyone below me must be making less than 2,000, which is it's hard. It's going to be hard, especially for Venice, who is pretty much rock bottom, only making maybe about 200, 500 a turn, which is not going to get him very far. He needs to use what he's got to push forward and take settlements. The best way to get money is by sacking and just taking settlements for the tax income. Population, as you can see, the Valdokian Empire have shot up here, so that must have been a point where they took 2 settlements in one turn. I'm pretty sure they must have taken 2. They did it over a course of 2 turns actually, but the population shot up, so it must have been quite a significant settlement actually. That would explain it, but they are considerably higher than the rest of us. The Spanish are second with again, they must have taken quite a nice settlement. We're third. Our increases happened a bit earlier, and then we've sort of leveled out. We are still increasing by fragments because of our general population increase. The whole Roman Empire are on the level. The population must have not increased by any. Even though I'm pretty sure they've taken settlements, so I'm not quite sure what's going on there. The Scottish is still the most surprising. I think I mentioned this last turn, but they have this little dip where they sort of drop down. Now, I don't know what it classes as population, whether it has to be in a city or whether your army technically classes as a population as well. But this weird dip, it looks like his population being exterminated somewhere. I really don't know, but yeah, he's had this really weird dip, and it's a very unusual one. I'm not quite sure what's happened there with his population. The Venetians haven't taken anything, so all these little increases are just general population increase. And that is everyone that matters, all of the human players, which is excellent. We have quite a nice family tree growing now. We still have our faction leader at 52 years old and a faction heir. We have this guy who married into the family as well. Then we have this guy, Miloslav, although maybe he is just... Did they actually name him Miloslav? But this guy's Miloslav as well. How many Miloslavs can we have? Well, this guy's just been born, whereas these and this guy as well, Adri. So we've got two young boys, and we're gonna, because they're all male, we'll get some nice generals out of them. So that'll be quite good. But yeah, our family tree's growing. And certainly on this side, it's growing quite a lot. I'm hoping that these two will get busy and have some more children as well, which will be good from their point of view. So we see now in the diplomacy that the Holy Empire of the Sunrise Coast is now at war with the Aztec Empire, which is interesting. Everyone else is fine. You've just got the alliance with the Holy Scottish Kingdom of Ralinad and the Valdokian Empire, and the Valdokian Empire still being at war with the Turks. So there's that going on as well, which is quite interesting. So I think that's all I needed to do for this turn. The other thing I want to talk about, since it's quite a short turn, is my AI backstory thing, where we pick a AI faction and we go over it, what kind of backstory it would have, how does it fit into our world, and what is the reason behind it being as it is. And for this one, we've spoken a lot about the Aztecs being sort of quite high in the rankings, so we'll talk about the Aztecs as an AI faction and what they should represent. So the Tyronian map is quite an interesting one, simply because there's so many cultures being thrown together. I kind of feel like the Aztecs would be the native population to Tyronia. They've always been here, maybe in the shadows, maybe off in the wilderness that no one dares go to, but they have always been here on this land and have slowly been whittled down. Maybe they had a larger empire, but they mainly live on this coast simply because it has all of these silver resources, and similar to our own history, as you'll find is a commonplace in when I talk about the backstories. The Aztecs of our timeline had a lot of gold and silver resources. And what happened was, when the Spanish came, the Spanish would take the silver, would claim the silver, and would basically get rid of the native population. So it's funny that it's sort of ironic and funny that the Aztecs are on this part of the island and they have all of these silver resources, similar to how we said the Mongols sort of came from here, and there's this huge swath of these herding resources, these wool and other such things, because the Mongols are basically just down here, and they would have had easy access to the plains where herding would have been quite useful. So yeah, the Aztecs have all of this gold and silver resource. And to tie it in with another faction, I think the closest two factions to tie it in with would be the Spanish and the Holy Roman Empire. So not to stand on the other players' sort of backstories here, but I kind of feel like the Spanish and the Holy Roman Empire are both kind of foreign powers, coming from the edge of the map here. You're coming from the lands over here and simply sailing across and landing expeditionary forces on these sort of islands and little peninsulas, and from there they basically set up kingdoms of their own. It was commonplace for sort of crusading forces to then set up new kingdoms and principalities in foreign lands. It was common in our timeline, and it seems to be common here that, again, maybe the Spanish came from over here and sort of settled on this island, and then settled on this, and then the Holy Roman Empire settled over here, and they created kingdoms and empires of their own, and then eventually would look to the Aztec lands due to this silver resource and would start their crusade there. So, a nice sort of discussion about the relationship between the Aztecs and potentially the Spanish. Again, don't want to stand on anyone's toes when it comes to their own backstories, but I kind of feel like you can't have the Spanish next to the Aztecs and not have them be kind of a foreign power coming in to crusade against the Aztec forces. And similar with the Holy Roman Empire, the fact that they were on this coast means that it was like they landed here, unless they came from further inland, sort of over here, and then settled on the coast and then just broke away from the power that was over here, which I think is England, but again, I don't want to connect too much with them. I might discuss England in that context later on, but I kind of like the idea that the Aztecs are the native people with all of this resource to sort of build some fancy trinkets and things, and the Spanish and the Holy Roman Empire are coming to claim their resources for their own gains, as the Europeans generally did to the native population of the Americas. So I believe that's everything we need to discuss. So we're just building some things. In terms of what we're going to build next, I would love to build a castle next, but unfortunately we're only going to make 18,900 no, we're only going to make 18,950. Yeah, of course. let's knock a zero off that. 1,895. So we're going to be woefully underfunded for our castle at 2,400. But if I can manage to get my spy and my general and these horse archers to attack Istalo and sack it, then I might be able to get enough to afford the castle upgrade, which would be very useful. Certainly with these farms building and then eventually this mine building, we'll be making more than 2,000 a turn. But for now we're kind of hovering on the edge of having to spend money on buildings and construction, and it's just costing us more than we would actually like. So we're just going to have to be slow and just build things up slowly and eventually get to the position where we have a lot of money to spend. So that is everything. So let's end the turn, and we can then save it. Turn 6. Praise him. There we are. So that was turn number 6 of the Tyronian hot seat. Check out the other players' turn 6s, see what they're up to. And thank you very much for watching. I shall see you all in turn number 7.